Hey everyone, welcome back to another Premiere Pro tutorial. So it's no secret that there are many different uses for keyframing within Premiere Pro. One of my most favorite ways to use keyframing though has to be designing my own 2D characters using basic shape layers and keyframing. Although if you don't have a full grasp on shape layers or keyframing, things can get complicated pretty quickly. So today I'm going to hopefully break down everything you need to know to design your own 2D character and to animate them, and also place them within a 2D or 3D environment. Okay, as you can see, I already have a sequence opened up. You can go and create yours if you need to. And as you can see right now on the timeline, we're just working with a basic color matte. Alright, so we're just going to work with a simple square here. I'll just plop it around, somewhat around the center of the screen. As you can see, we are given different transform options here. Now, we are given both vector motion options and video options, but we're going to work with vector motion. The reason I don't work with video motion a lot is because you can lose quality from this. Now, the first thing I actually want to start off with is the anchor point. Despite it being on the bottom, it's still super important. The anchor point is basically what your shape revolves around. As you can see, right now it's in the center. If I move the rotation, if I scrub through this, as you can see, it's revolving around this. Now if I move it over the right corner, as you can see, the shape layer is now moving around that. The position properties are pretty self-explanatory. The right will bring it up and down, and the left will bring it left to right. The scale is also pretty simple. As you can see, if you click and hold and then drag, as you can see, it can zoom out and in. You can click and dial in your numbers. You can also bring down this drop down and then use this slider to adjust. And then you also have your rotation. There are many different kinds of keyframes. I'm not going to get into all of them, but an important kind is the linear ones. Linear keyframes are very straightforward. Click the stopwatch to place a keyframe and then scroll through and click this little diamond icon and add another keyframe. Now as you can see, it's doing nothing now because I haven't adjusted these properties. But if I move this slightly over here, if I click play, as you can see, the box is slowly moving. Now the next set of keyframes are the Bezier keyframes. These basically make it so that your keyframes are a little bit more smooth. Now if I right click the last keyframe and come here and click ease in, this keyframe will ease in. And now it's a Bezier keyframe. It's going to be a lot less straightforward of an animation. It's going to be a little bit more smooth. We can do the same for this one, and it basically makes it so it eases out. Objects in real life usually don't start off fast. They usually start off slow and then pick up speed. So now if I play this back, as you can see, that's a little bit more smooth. A way to think of this is basically the higher this little graph is, basically the faster it goes, or that's the peak of the speed. If I drag this, as you can see, it's very high in the beginning, so it's going to be pretty fast in the beginning. If we play it back, as you can see, that is looking really nice. Now, I'm only going to teach linear and Bezier. There's an automatic Bezier, continuous Bezier, and there's hold. And hold, I guess I can explain it. It's almost as if it's not being keyframed, it just moves to that position as soon as it gets there, but there's no actual motion happening. There's also spatial interpolation, but I'd recommend leaving that at linear. Alright, now that we have the basics down of animating a simple shape, let's try designing our character and animating that. So once again, you can simply select whichever shape you want to start off with. If you hold down this square, you can get each tool. I'm going to start off by creating a square. And in this, if I click and drag, it will now create a new layer called graphic. And this is where we will build our character off of, just this single layer. So as you can see, this shape is made, and I switched to my selection tool. So now we can drag these and adjust it how we want. These little circles here will also curve the edges to make it so that you have less sharp edges. I'm gonna create a robot, so I'm gonna actually prefer the sharp edges, but you can adjust it how you want. Now, you can center it using the captions and graphics. Unfortunately for me, my Premiere crashes whenever I do that. Now with this layer selected, as you can see, if I select the rectangle tool and create another shape, all it does is create another layer here rather than creating another layer in our timeline, which I think is super helpful because then we can animate our character using the vector motion and animate the whole thing. So I'm going to click V to get my selection tool, and I'm going to do some fine adjustments. This is looking pretty nice, so I'm just going to copy and paste And now, even though it's called shape 4 again, as you can see I can just move this over, and now we have 2 legs. Now obviously you'll want to be playing around with shadows and color. I'm making a pretty basic character, but I'm still going to do some adjustments later on. Let's speed up the footage and you can see me create my character. Actually, I just realized now this is an especially important part because as you can see, I'm working on the arm, and if you remember what I said about using the anchor point, as you can see, the anchor point's right there, so I'm going to move it to about here. And as you can see now, if I move the rotation, as you can see, the arm is moving how it should, rather than if it was over here. Alrighty, here we are. Now as you can see, I've created my character and this is what we're working with. Now for this tutorial, I just want to create a simple animation. I'm probably going to have him jump in and then maybe wave to the camera. I'm going to click until I see the outlines. As you can see, that's one of them. And then this, yeah, I imagine that's the next. We're going to do probably it simply going up a little bit and then maybe a little bit of a rotation. So I click to place my first keyframe down. I'm going to go a little bit into the video. I'm going to move the leg up a little bit. Depending on your preference, you could just stack things differently. And now I'm going to copy this keyframe and paste it over here. So now we have it go up and then back to where it originally started. And one of the things that's pretty cool that I want to show you guys is overshooting your keyframes. It's a process of putting your keyframes further than they should be, but then bouncing back to where they end up. As you can see, I already copied this, so it goes up and then down. But now I'm going to go a little bit further and then go back to this keyframe. So we have 2 copied keyframes and then make the first one a little bit further to where it should be. I'll move the anchor point to move all of this up. Probably can't tell too much because I want it to be pretty subtle. As you can see, once it comes back down, it kind of hits the ground and then comes back up. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, but doesn't matter too much right now, if you want motion blur, using the transform effect basically makes it so that you can keyframe and use the shutter angle option to up the motion blur, although you need to be doing the keyframes with the transform property. 180 is probably the most realistic, but you can go all the way up to 360. So if you want to add motion blur, just instead of using the vector motion, you can use the transform property. Now I think this is good for our whole animation here, so let's see how it turned out. Honestly, I'd say that's pretty good. Now as you can see, this character and background works well together. There's no blending in, it just fits in very well, but there will be times that it doesn't always work that way. Depending on which background you choose, your character may seem to blend in. If you drag in the drop shadow effect, it will make a shadow. The shadow it creates automatically is okay, but you can play around with the different settings. So if you want to make your character feel distant from the background, then this can work well. Now, there may be times that you're trying to place your character within an environment, and I'm going to show you how you can do that. So what you can do is you can copy and paste. I'm holding down Option, and as you can see, if I make the opacity 0, maybe do a little rough outline. Now, if I make the opacity 100, as you can see, it's kind of blending in there. And you can mess around with the mask expansion, the mask feather that basically just fades the edges of it. As you can see, that's probably a little too much. Another thing you can do is add a shadow. Now, you'll need to copy and paste your character so that you have something to use for your shadow. Then you'll need to drag on the basic 3D effect. With the transform selected and the basic 3D effect selected, you can move your character how you want it to be to fit a shadow. Now, as you can see, it's acting a little bit weird here. If I move the tilt, it kind of glitches around. So if I add transform on top of basic 3D, now it should be working fine. I'm gonna move my character around over here, adjust the swivel and the tilt. The shadow probably isn't like this. It's probably a little bit more to this side. I may actually make this a little bit unrealistic on purpose just so you guys can visually see how the shadow is supposed to look. Now obviously we're not there yet. Now if you drag on the tint effect, you can get the eyedropper for one of these colors and pick the darkest part of your image, and then you'll want to make both colors that color. Another option you have is to just make both colors black and then mess around with the layer opacity. Now as you can see, we're getting really close here, but I still kind of want to make it a little bit less sharp. So we're going to add the blur effect. We'll drag in the Gaussian blur. Now you can adjust it to your liking. And yeah, keep in mind, I'm still just keeping the shadow like this just so you guys can see what I'm doing. I probably would do some adjustments to get a little bit more accurate. I'm going to drag this down maybe to like an 80. I think that's good. Now, other than sound design and possibly some music, I think we're done here. And there we have it. We have officially designed and animated our own character inside Premiere Pro. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, maybe even hit that subscribe button too. And I'll see you guys in the next one.